Hello, Stefan.
Hello Heidi, hello
It,
Rotterdam.
it's so hard to fade that song. I love it,
Yeah,
but I did.
could have,
How are you?
could have kept it a little longer. It's really beautiful.
It
I
is.
like it.
Yeah, me too. It's a great. I love Billie Holiday. If you say
Yeah,
Billie or Ella, it's so hard. But
yeah,
I may say Billie. People may hate me for that, but for me, she's very special.
she is.
Yeah.
She's
So
a
I
little
was.
more versatile. She's very bluesy, although she never sings blues. It's interesting.
You mean Ella or
No,
Billie?
Billie.
Oh,
Billie Holiday is a swing singer who has a blues feeling.
yeah. Ella sings the blues, but to me, they don't feel like blues.
No, she's a happy girl.
Yeah, kind of. I will in her singing. I don't know how she was as a person, but in her
No, she was
singing,
lovely and a serious woman, but I
she's
think
very joyful in her singing.
joy.
Uh, gives you good mood. Billy as well, but in a bittersweet way.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like yeah. Anyway, how's Berlin?
Sunny. It's very sunny today.
Like everywhere, like many places in Europe, I
Has
think.
been a little rainy. It was very hot in Holland, I've seen on the weather forecast. And here in
Not
Berlin,
today.
it was raining. We were waiting for the heat, but it didn't come. It will come on Monday, as far as they told us.
Let's see what will happen. Yeah,
But the
it's
very
another
best,
holiday.
the very best thing is the flea markets are reopening in Berlin. Last
Ah,
weekend, there was a handful of flea markets and
yeah.
was maybe 20 to 30% of sellers and 10% of customers and people digging, and no other record collectors.
So
I was lucky to buy 5 records.
there you go.
Yeah.
What did you find? What was the best thing?
The best thing was a Paul Godwin record from 1932. Paul Godwin was a German dance band
Ah,
who in the 20s was very famous as a cabaret orchestra,
mm-hmm.
and in the early 30s transformed his orchestra in a more modern dance band. And he was playing Femina Bar. And for
Ah, yeah.
this, he hired international musicians
Ah,
and he changed the cast of his band away from banjo and tuba into slap bass and guitar. So he became a little more
ah, yeah, yeah, yeah.
modernistic swing style. And the record I bought is really beautiful. It's the English American song Mona Lisa, sung in German.
It's
Fräulein
not,
Lisa, seit ich sie sah, ihre Knie sah, ist klar, ich liebe nur sie. Ridiculous, but beautiful. That's
but that's a different song than Nat King Cole's one.
very different from Nat King Cole. Yeah, yeah, it's another one.
It's not that old. Probably
No,
Nat King Cole's song.
no, 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 no. Nat King Cole is
Nice.
very, very smooth and kitschy. Then we have a hot saxophone solo, but saxophone is not our theme today. Our theme today is more clarinet, let's say.
Yeah, somehow we talked about it, like what we could we do. But there's something else from last week I have to come back to as well again,
Yeah,
because sometimes I say things and I don't know exactly, and I have to look it up. I was talking about well, we were talking about Mephisto, the club in
yeah,
the jazz club
yeah,
in Rotterdam,
yeah,
and I
yeah,
wasn't sure what road it was was it the old or the new Binnenweg,
yeah.
because we have an old and a new one. And then I looked it up and I found out that the Binnenweg changed. Sometimes some parts were new and then other parts were it changed. But Mephisto was on yeah what we call today the Oude Binnenweg. So that's really in city center.
Yeah.
That's a little part that still stood partly with one of the oldest cafes I think in Rotterdam. I'm not gonna say that, otherwise I have to look that up again as well. And this so it's now the old Binnenweg, so it's good for me to know kind of where it is. There's where there is a jazz route where they have like plaques and
Yeah,
like artwork of
yeah.
Rotterdam musicians. There are a
Really
few on that
cool.
on the street.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'm not sure if there's the Jaap Valkhof one. I oh,
There is Bobby Martin too.
yeah, I can't
Yeah,
remember.
yeah,
I have to go back.
yeah, yeah.
There's an app with Rotterdam roots. Actually, it's all kinds of walks through the city. There's one for the jazz route. So the guy who wrote the book Jazz in
Oh,
Rotterdam
yeah.
guides you
Mhm.
through some uh, sites of interest was what we have left, but he will tell you. And I think the
Yeah,
route is also with those artworks on the
yeah,
outside of houses.
yeah, yeah,
You can see that. So I still have to do that one day.
yeah.
Since the weather is nice, maybe I could do a walk like that. And
Oh, baby. Do it.
oh baby, we're gonna talk about a song. Oh baby.
Yes, exactly.
Nice bridge. There's a little one another thing about the drummer, the Rotterdam drummer, this young guy,
Yeah,
Martin Beekmans, who sit in with Bobby Martin when Kaiser Marshall was sick.
yeah,
I was thinking like there was something in this book about him.
mm,
He also played with Coleman Hawkins actually at
mhm,
Mephisto,
yeah.
and he played Klaas van Beek. That must something say something to you.
Yeah,
Klaas
yes,
van Beek Orchestra. He played with them,
yes. I
and
have records
also
of some big.
in 1940, yeah, and 40,
Yeah,
42, he
yeah,
played with
yeah.
Ernst van Hoff.
Yes, okay.
So Ernst van
Yeah.
Hoff is the Dutch orchestra that also played in Germany.
But I imagine he was with the new band of Ernst van Toff because in
I don't
1941,
know.
when Ernst van Toff came to Berlin,
Mm-hmm.
almost all his orchestra was asked to stay in Berlin. So they were more or less forced to stay there to
Aha.
replace German musicians who became soldiers. So Ernst van
Aha.
Toff went back to Holland and he had to found a new orchestra with another
Ah,
crowd.
that could be.
Yes.
Because I don't think Martin Beekmans, also he had his brother who was a musician,
Yeah.
Frans Beekmans. I don't think Martin was in Germany playing with the band, but he
Oh,
was sent off to Germany in 44 für Arbeitseinsatz.
oh, yeah, yeah.
I
Okay.
don't know how you would translate that. Later he was in, you had a Dutch band, the Skymasters, that was
Mhm. Yeah,
post-war, but it had a
yeah.
different name in the beginning, but he stood on the cradle of that.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So
Okay.
he was kind of around. So I that's a little bit about him,
Mhm.
but that's it. So I did my homework.
Yeah.
So this song, there's something special with this song, "Oh Baby."
Yeah, yeah. When we were thinking what we should do tonight, it was a little bit like, we really do like Benny Goodman,
Yes.
and we do like his development and the versatile way of working and small combos and the big band. So my first idea was, well, let's do the Benny Goodman songs in small combo and in big band. And it was like, yeah, but they are a little overplayed. So Stomping in the Savoy, everybody
Which is
knows all versions.
it's a great song
Um,
though.
so it was like, okay, but let's take this first song that's on the new Balboa CD,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
that we
Taylor
see,
Cell, do tell Cell again. Just
yeah,
you can order it. Come on.
there is a new Balboa CD,
Yeah.
volume 13 already, and
Exactly.
just the physical CD, no download, so you can write me an email or message on Facebook.
And you get real mail in your letterbox, which is so
Yes,
lovely.
yes. And normally it works. Only with Johan Borg it didn't work.
Oh,
Yeah, he got an empty envelope, but I put scotch on it, so somebody stole the CD.
a
And I told
postman,
them,
a
I hope that this
Lindy,
doesn't
a
hate
Balboa,
swing
oh,
music.
Balboa dancing postman.
Yeah.
Who
So,
knows?
well, anyway, but yeah.
People
So,
still steal CDs. Go figure.
yeah, sure. So, oh Baby is on the CD, and it's a mix. It starts in a small sextet, and then it becomes a big band song, and it's very long. So, I think we can maybe fade it out at some place.
Let's see.
But from this, we will talk about small combos that got inspired by Benny Goodman, and
Hmm.
they try to take the style of Benny Goodman and to work with this. And now I'm looking for.
For that song, you
Here we
have
go.
to share screen.
First I have to share screen. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, technical
And
issues.
only audio. Otherwise, we'll
I
look
say
into your kitchen.
erweitert.
It's
Computerton
a thing.
freigeben. Only Computerton. Yes.
There we
And
go.
then I have to mute myself, and then I start the music.
I think you have to share screen again.
every little thing, but I never knew I could ever feel the way that I do till I looked into your sweet eyes of blue, oh baby. I never had a thrill till I held your hand. Don't know what it is, but I understand that it's something new, it's different, it's grand, oh baby. Now, when you kiss, I know I miss a beat or two in my heart. I don't mind, there's nothing more to live for. What if I should die and travel where I would have to climb the heavenly stairs? Wouldn't it be hell if you weren't there? Oh, baby.
Wah!
Yeah, I just put it a brutal end at the end of part one because it's on two sides, and the second side is only big band and a very long drum solo. That's perfect. But yeah, the whole recording is more than 8 minutes. So for shellac, it's really a very long recording. So
It's
they put
interesting.
it on a
It is.
12-inch record, not a 10-inch, but 12-inch record.
That's what. Can you show us the difference?
Yes.
Like a 12-inch and a. I mean,
This is the
because I could see like it's
12-inch
huge.
and this is a normal 10-inch.
Yeah, go figure.
So here you
Wow.
have 3 minutes. There you have more than 4 minutes on the side. So
Yeah, it's good to
and
see.
it's on two sides. So when I want to DJ with shellac, I have to have those records that have two sides. I have them in double, and I really try to do old-fashioned DJ work. This means I have an earplug. There's one record. There's the second record spinning, and then it's like, yeah, and
Drop the needle.
yeah, and yeah, and now we got the perfect moment. I'm always very proud when some dancers get very irritated that the song is so long. They didn't hear or they didn't feel that I made a fading and switched to the other side.
It's still the same song. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, well, we discussed. You can ask if you want to stop and enjoy the music without dancing, for example.
Uh-huh.
You can make an excuse if you don't want to dance 8 minutes with a certain person.
Yeah, well, sometimes
What I really like.
I really announce that I'm going to play a very long song. So that you really have to like your partner.
So you know, if you say you go to the toilet for a moment, wash your hands, which is also important these days.
Oh yeah, that's
Always
a very
important.
important thing for the next. upcoming-
Always, it was always important.
Wash your
Actually,
No,
yeah.
it's more important.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
not only
yeah.
the rain germs, it's other things, yeah.
What was so great with this song? It's a call and response with Benny as a soloist with the band. But also it's like the small band in call and response with the big band.
Yes,
There's
this
this,
is something I
it's
really
like,
yeah.
whoa, this is really special.
Yeah, yeah. Sometimes there is some recordings that I found very interesting that really work with the same theme. For example, the Mills Brothers, when they sing Digga Digga Doo with the band of Duke Ellington. I think like, oh, that's really great. You hear Duke Ellington playing and the Mills Brothers are singing. No, not even a single note. They perform together. The
Aha.
Mills Brothers start. Duke Ellington takes over.
And
He
then it's,
plays the intro. The Mills Brothers sing only with the guitar.
uh-huh.
And Duke Ellington stops. He
So
listens to what they are doing.
quiet
And
again.
then with the last note of the Mills Brothers, the drummer starts, Sonny Greer starts, and the bass takes over, and then the band jumps in. And it's so interesting to see that a little bit with this call response thing going on with the small combo and the big band. In this case, with Duke Ellington and the Mills Brothers, I really made me analyze because I wanted to know. And there's not one note they play together.
Ah, interesting.
And you don't feel it. You only can find it out when you really listen carefully and you start analyzing.
So we
And
have
I'm not
to.
sure if the small sextet was integrated in the big band, or if they really were on the side and the big band was performing, taking over the song.
Yeah, that would be nice to know.
Yeah.
And it was a different. It was probably. Do you have the personnel on there?
No, unfortunately not.
I couldn't. Yeah, I was looking for it, but I couldn't find it because. But it's different. Probably different personnel than his trio, quartet, sextet that he had in the 30s. This is later. This is.
The discographical material I have stops at 1942 with the record band.
Yes, I
And
saw
this
that.
recording is from 46.
It's the record band. Yeah, that's this. I have one PDF file and I looked it up and oh, it's only Benny Goodman till 42. Oh, that has to do with record band. Aha.
The Brian Russ discography.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
the record band. And there's other discographies that go further on, but I have some single artists I was interested in, like Billie Holiday and Cy Oliver and Teddy Wilson and so on. Benny Carter have the complete discographies, or Artie Shaw, but I never get.
I have to. I think. Oh, baby. Maybe I don't know if it's the same recording. There's one in the Mosaic set. I will ask somebody who has that, and maybe they can look up the personnel. That would be good to know because I couldn't find it on the Mosaic website either. I think the out of print thing. They have some listings of all the recordings, all the information, but maybe only the ones that can still sell. But this one was out of. It was sold out. They only have a limited editions, unfortunately. Unfortunately. So there's some great stuff not available anymore. Well, secondhand maybe, but that you pay for it. But that's lovely. So we thought like, hey, there's more. I mean, the small combos were always part of jazz.
Yes.
From the beginning. Also, big bands came on quite early as well. But Fletcher Henderson maybe is one of the famous ones, the early ones that started with really arrangements and stuff. But small bands like Benny Goodman, yeah, that were before, and even Teddy Wilson talks about it in his book. Of course, there were many. Even Benny Goodman was maybe a special. Well, what he brought to it, that it was an integrated, racially integrated band that was on stage, which was quite new. But I don't know if that was, I don't know, Benny Goodman. I don't want to give him, I don't know. We should give him credits for it or not. But I think maybe mainly he wanted to have good musicians and he didn't care. But he took some risks doing that at the same time. And I think Lionel Hampton and Teddy Wilson were
very complicated. I think there's one really big band who's more a concert orchestra, but we mentioned him already, Paul Whiteman. And he was working with Mildred Bailey because her half brother was a singer with Paul Whiteman's Rhythm Boys. Al Rinker was his name. And Mildred Bailey was Native American. So she was kind of segregated, but she got integrated by Paul Whiteman in 1929 already. So she was on stage singing with Paul Whiteman and doing records with Paul Whiteman in 1929 already. So this is kind of integration too. So it's always hard to say.
Yeah.
Who really integrated whom at what time, and who is the first big band, and you never can say. So
Mildred Bailey, I think
Yeah,
that one of her parties, that's where Benny Goodman met Teddy Wilson.
I think so. Yeah.
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 And I think 1936 or something,
Uh-huh.
John Hammond had something to do with
Yeah,
it.
yeah, he arranged some recording stuff in 35. Must have been 35
Well,
because the
maybe,
first
but the
recording.
first recording is 36, I think.
Yeah. Okay.
I
Early
think,
36 maybe.
yeah, I think they played together on that party or something, and
Yeah.
there was like a
Yeah. Uh-huh.
musical
Yeah.
magic. I don't know. Like they had a musical crush on each other,
Yeah.
and I think there was another drummer present or something. But they had Gene Krupa later
Yeah.
joining them, and then they were a trio, and then Lionel Hampton was part of it. You told me that
Yeah, I heard that with a concert in Los Angeles, Benny Goodman was told to go and see Lionel Hampton perform. Was
as
playing,
a drummer.
and Goodman said, "No, I don't want to. I don't need a drummer. I have a drummer." And then he was told, "No, no, go and just listen to him." And he saw Lionel Hampton playing vibes.
But he
And
also
so
plays drums.
for a recording session, they were put together. I think the first recording session they made together was Dinah and Exactly Like You. And you
Yeah,
hear
could
Lionel
be.
Hampton sing with the Benny Goodman quartet in this. I think this was the first record they made together.
Could be.
But it was more
Also,
by accident because Benny Goodman didn't feel like he needs a fourth person for founding.
and
Yeah,
then it was turned out
he was
really,
happy with
really,
it.
really good. And also, yeah, like the sextet with vibes. There's quite some bands that are even nowadays. There are some bands like Hofschneider. It's really based on the on this Benny Goodman
Yeah.
small bands.
Mhm.
Um, and what was nice about this recording, Benny Goodman is singing. That was actually Benny Goodman singing.
And it's very funny because here they just mentioned vocal chorus by Benny Goodman. There is earlier recordings, Tain't No Use, for example, in 37.
Yeah, I really like the singing.
And there is marked accidentally vocal chorus by Benny Goodman. Because they didn't have no singer in the studio. So he just started singing like
That's
this.
what.
Yeah.
He's maybe not the most accomplished singer, but I think it's pretty fine. He has a
Yeah, it's
nice.
okay.
I like his timbre.
Yeah, yeah,
And this the coloration of his.
yeah. It's more
So
talking, but it's a good talking. It's very rhythmical. I like it.
I think
There's
it
other recordings
was.
from the late 40s, early 50s, where he sings with Rosemary Clooney. That's very funny.
Mm,
Rosemary Clooney, the aunt of George Clooney, famous
oh, really, is that family?
espresso coffee. George Clooney.
Is that family? I didn't know that.
Yes, of course. His mother and Rosemary Clooney, her sister were the Clooney sisters.
Now this is the gossip column part of the
Yes, of course.
of the program.
Otherwise, it's boring. The gossip is nice. Okay,
It's a
so
small.
there's a
It's
little
a
bit
s-
of vibe.
yeah,
Vibe with
exactly.
people. Hello.
So this whole Benny Goodman small band thing was something that inspired some Europeans as well,
Oh, yes, it did.
because there's more bands like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So not on this CD, right? But
But
on
other
some of your
cities,
other CDs, there's some stuff that's really
there is
interesting.
one Benny Goodman inspired British band that I admire a lot. And he's really amazing. And I have to find the sound program again. And it's really stupid with these windows because it's the third and fourth trial. And
Share screen.
I see something. Oh yeah, first I have to share the screen. I forgot. Thanks for the technical things. Erweitert.
Analog.
Ton. Bildschirm freigeben. I think it should be coming. You hear me? Yes, Computer. Sie geben den Computerton frei. And now I see iTunes again, and I can start the fantastic British band of Harry Perry.
Yes.
doesn't sound like boogie woogie, but it's really got a beat. Sounds to me like it's in four. Let me hear it just once more, whilst I latch onto that rhythm, 'cause the falling four's my mate. Some folks like to hear 8-beat rhythm. I don't go for that stuff no more. Anytime you really want to send me, bounce me, brother, with solid four. Come on in, the whole place is jumping. Everybody's out on that floor. If you want to keep the rhythm pumping, bounce me, brother, with a solid four. The boogie woogie was never like this. We've got a new beat that no one can miss. If boogie woogie sends you like I think it did, fall to a bar, well, flip your lid. Move the tables and roll the rug up. Shut the windows and lock the door. While I try to dig the little brown jug up, bounce me, brother, with a solid four. Now some folks like to hear 8-beat rhythm. I don't go for that stuff no more. Anytime you really want to send me, bounce me, brother, with a solid four. Come on in, the whole place is jumping. Everybody's out on that floor. If you want to keep the rhythm pumping, bounce me, brother, with a solid four. The boogie woogie was never like this. We got a new beat that no one can miss. If boogie woogie send you like I think it did, go to a bar, well, flip your lid. Move the tables and roll the rug up. Shut the windows and lock the door. While I try to dig the little brown jug up, bounce me, brother, with a solid four.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Who was
Yeah, Harry
singing?
Potter is really fantastic, very appealing small combo. He's so tight and so bouncy and inspiring for dancing, and it's really a goosebump record. And this for me always is a burner. When the party is slow, it's not very fast, but when the party is kind of slow and the ambience is not so bouncy dancing like, I put this record and everybody goes on the floor and dances. It's really beautiful. It's so easy to shuffle to Harry Perry.
Who's singing?
Yeah, and it's so funny. I found this book by Brian Rust about dance bands, and there's a little chapter about Harry Perry he's mentioned. And yeah, and by coincidence, the card that's inside, that I found inside the book, is a Dutch card.
Yeah, it's even funny.
Yeah.
What it means.
It's very funny because it matches the situation.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Kind of.
It's very interesting to read about those small combos in Europe, because of course the big ballrooms that existed and the big hotels in London especially, they had the huge orchestras, the huge society orchestras like Bud Ambrose and Lou Stone and Carol Gibbons playing New Mayfair Hotel and Savoy Hotel in London and so on. And then came the war.
You can still.
Yeah, but then came the war, and the big bands, all the musicians were taken to become soldiers. And the established musicians, the established big bands, all of a sudden broke down. So there was huge trouble for Joe Loss and the other bands like Harry Roy and Henry Hall and Carol Gibbons. And all of a sudden there came a new generation, a young generation, like Buddy Featherstone and Harry Perry, who had the chance, who had the chance to found small combos, because the time of the big bands was over during war. It was impossible to pay them and to hire them. So yeah, this was a good luck that a new generation of musicians came and they brought a new spirit into the scene.
And some of them also then dabbled into bebop, I think.
Oh
That
yes,
was about the same time of
yeah, yeah, yeah.
like the mid 40s. Of course, it started before, but I think in Europe you see that maybe mid 40s it's happening.
Yeah, yeah. And it's very nice. I have some record by a small combo, George Chisholm, he's called, a trombone player. His record from 1939, he made one session in 1939. It's really beautiful with piano player George Shearing on piano, and he's playing the trombone. And it's a very bouncy and progressive sound and version of Rosetta, and the other side, a composition by himself. And it's very swingy, and I love playing this for Balboa dancers. And maybe I should remember it and put it on the CD number 14 because it's really beautiful. But George Chisholm had no really big success in this time in 39. But in 1944, he became one of the most famous bebop trombone player in England. So yes, you can, when you know that he was playing bebop later on, you hear his progression already in swing.
Yeah,
And this is maybe why in 1939 he was not so successful, because he didn't fit the taste. He was a
bit too early.
Yes, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. People were not ready for the sound at that time, maybe.
Yeah. So this song, what CD is this one?
This must be on CD Balboa Volume 4.
So
because this one is called Bond Brother with a solid 4.
I didn't. That makes, yeah. I didn't know that one. I know other Harry Perry songs, but this one I didn't know yet. I don't have that CD, so I have other stuff. I like the what's it? The Gorgonzola one, the Dancing the Gorgonzola. It's such a funny title.
Gorgonzola, that's Danny Polo. But I'm going to play later.
Yeah. How could I mix those up? Sorry.
Because Harry Perry is a British clarinet player, and Danny Polo was an American clarinet player.
Whoa, yeah, they're all playing.
But the good thing is, Danny Polo made most of his career in Europe. He was performing in Berlin in the late 20s with Bernard Ete and Oscar Joost.
There you go.
And then he jumped into the band with Hilton and went to England and founded his own combo with a mixed cast. And unfortunately, on doing the Gorgonzola, we have Garland Wilson playing the piano. He was a black musician coming from Paris. He came with Teddy Hill band to France. You heard about Teddy Hill already, with this famous ballroom couple you found out about.
No, Yana from Moscow found out about them. She has the book about them, and we were talking about it like, but they were on the same tour as the Whitey Lindy Hoppers in 1937, and Teddy Hill was the orchestra traveled with
them.
But
on the flip
side, it was an Afro-American ballroom couple, of which I forgot the names now. I will look it up. I will mention them next time.
Nick and...
No, that's the Lindy Hoppers, Nick and Della. But I mean the ballroom couple.
Okay.
They were also part of that troupe.
I see.
That's a whole another story. I will have to ask Jana because she has the book.
Okay, good. Okay, so you should do a Zoom meeting with Jana.
Who knows? So
but I just wanted to say the flip side of doing the Gorgonzola is quite interesting. It's called Montmartre Moan, but it's a very slow number. I could put it as a slow song. But there we have Una May Carlyle playing on piano.
Nice.
In Paris, for recording sessions, they made like Teddy Wilson did in New York. They were changing the cast, and they tried to fit in other musicians they were jamming with. So normally those records of the small combos, they were made kind of a jam session-like style. They were mixed cast, and they put in people that could join in, that were free this afternoon or this morning, or who were just in the bar the night before, and they heard about the record session, and they said, I'd like to join in. And so they were called, come with me. And so this happens that Danny Polo made 4 sides with always different musicians joining him, and they're all amazing. I like them.
So he's an American. This was Harry Perry, who is from Wales.
Yeah.
I found that interesting.
As well. Yeah, maybe he even looks Welsh. I don't know how people from
I
Wales.
don't know how Welsh people look like.
I
I
think
don't.
he looks Welsh.
You think so? I don't know.
Yes.
When I think about Wales, I have to think about mines, but he doesn't look like a like a person for the mines. I don't know, with his white jacket.
Yeah, I have
Way
no.
too fancy. Actually, there's some nice clips on. Well, one nice clip for 1942
Yeah.
on YouTube. But there were more. There's more. You have another. We have another last song of a German clarinet player.
Yeah, that's very funny. I was a fan of a singer who was singing a beautiful chanson called Ich liebe die Sonne, den Mond und die Sterne that I heard in radio when I was a kid. And her name was Henriette Scheffler. And I never found this record. It took me years when, by coincidence, I bought a record by the orchestra of Hans Rehnstedt, and there was this voice. Because in radio, it was explained that Henriette Scheffler is singing, but on the record, her name is not mentioned. So finally, I found this record. And at that time, I already was a little older. I wasn't 12 or 13 anymore. So I went to the train station, Zoologischer Garten in West Berlin, because there was the Central Post, and there were all the phone books of Germany that you could look up. And I was thinking,
I remember those times.
yeah, and there were so many old singers and actors living in Munich. So I took the Munich phone book, and I thought like, oh, maybe I should look up Scheffler, Henriette, and I found her
In Munich.
in Munich, and was like, wow, it must be her. So I was writing down the phone number, and then at home,
You did call her?
I called her.
Oh
I
my
called this
goodness.
lady, and at the phone, the answer was Anjali. And I said, well, to make things short, I would like to know if you are the chanson singer Henriette Scheffler. And there was silence, a big laugh, and then a very friendly voice said, but this was decades ago. To make things short, I'm a fan, and I have so many questions about your recordings. Am I allowed to write to you? And she said, oh, yes, if you like. Do you have my address? I said, yeah, I found it in the phone book.
Oh, that's so sweet. Oh my goodness.
But I have one more question, because you mentioned, when you took up the phone, you mentioned the name Anjali. And I know there is recordings with the Italian boogie-woogie piano player Primo Anjali. Were you married? And she said, oh, we are still together. Would you like to talk to my husband, Primo? And I was like, what can I tell this man? He's the most amazing boogie-woogie piano player in Europe. And
Really? Oh
so I just said, thank you so much for and I want to write to your wife. I have so many questions. And he was laughing and said with Italian accent, oh, write my woman, it's beautiful, beautiful. Everything was perfect.
Oh, wonderful.
And I also asked, because at that time I started learning clarinet playing. And I asked her if by my hearing, I guess right, if maybe she remembers the clarinet solos I hear on the record, if this could be Franz Teddy Kleindien who is performing. And her answer was, oh, with the list of recordings you own, you know much more than I remember. That's very interesting. So I made her a tape. She was very grateful for all the recordings and the takes. And she said, and yes, of course, the clarinet player is my cousin, Franz Kleindien.
Cousin.
You have his phone number and his address. You should call him. He will be happy.
No way. When was this? In the 80s?
Yeah, late 80s. Mid-80s, late 80s, yeah.
Yeah, that's so funny.
So
Really?
finally, with Franz Kleindien, he had his daughter living in Berlin. And we met on his 75th birthday, first time here in Berlin. And we became friends for the last 18 years of his life. We were befriended. And he really was my clarinet idol, because from the tone, his idol for tone building was Artie Shaw. And you can hear it because he has this very light, high notes. But for the finger virtuosity, his idol was Benny Goodman. And he took the good parts of Benny Goodman and the nice parts of Artie Shaw and some inspirations of Benny Carter. These were his three idols. and he tried to give his personal handwriting to it.
How
And
nice.
it's true that on many dance band recordings from the 30s and 40s, I hear a small clarinet break or a solo, and I can guess this is Teddy Kleinin because
Oh,
he has
wow.
a very strong personal style. And yeah, it's really interesting to see that. When I went to Munich to visit these elder people,
Mm-hmm.
I was sitting on one table with Henriette Scheffler and Teddy Kleinin and Primo Angeli. And Primo Angeli was telling nice stories like, oh, in 1934 from Milano, our band leader Nanni Daldello, he said, okay, we do a professional trip to Holland. We go to Amsterdam. In 1934, Cab Calloway was performing in Amsterdam. So their professional job traveling was, we drive to Amsterdam by night train, we listen to Cab Calloway, we get all the inspirations we need from playing modern jazz music, and we return to Milano for performing the Cab Calloway songs with all the inspirations. The next year, in 35, they went to Amsterdam to hear Coleman Hawkins.
They did the same.
And they were still sitting at the tables, and the concert was over, and they were chatting, and all of a sudden Coleman Hawkins appears after the concert.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, oh, you must be jazz musicians, you're still sitting here. And everybody, yeah, from Italy. And he said, who's your piano player? And everybody was like, Primo. And then Primo Angeli said, he was 96 at that time. This 96 years old man, he told me, oh, and then I had to play with the most important and the best saxophone player in the world. This was such a strange feeling. And I was sitting there like, this is a little abstract. So I took his hand and I said, you know, I'm sitting here with the European Teddy Wilson. And there were critiques of records in the 30s and 40s, and he was called the European Teddy Wilson. I'm sitting with the European Teddy Wilson, and I took the hand of Teddy Kleinin, and with the European Benny Goodman at one table, and we're eating ice cream. This is us. And both at the same time said, no, this is something completely different. I thought like, oh, they're so modest. They were the best when they were young. And then, yeah, they were more or less forgotten within the decades. But for the 90th birthday of Teddy Kleinin, I was producing a CD. Mm-hmm. And his kind of theme song was called Heute Abend wollen wir bummeln gehen. Mm-hmm. This evening, tonight, we are going to do some slumming. And there were several bands that recorded the song too, and normally in his arrangement. And this is recorded in 1941, and it's a septet playing. Mm-hmm. But still you hear the inspiration. Yeah, so this was Teddy Kleindienst playing his own composition, the theme song, Heute Abend wollen wir bummeln gehen. And the record I showed is the exemplary that he owned. So
Oh,
when he gave
wow.
it to me, I asked him to put an autograph.
Oh, that's
He
so
said,
nice.
well, yeah, what shall I write? And he was writing, Heute Abend wollen wir bummeln gehen. And below he puts, why not on the afternoon? Warum nicht schon am Nachmittag?
So you just showed us a clarinet.
Yes.
That's a special one. That's not just any clarinet to show us, this is a clarinet.
Yeah.
It's
The
his.
same clarinet you see on this photo in the studio.
Yeah.
And it is his clarinet
Clarinet.
that I inherited. It was made for him in 1931 when he still was a
Oh, already,
student.
it's that old.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
And in 1932, it was the first time he got hired for a movie.
Uh-huh.
When he just turned 18, and he was playing on records on this clarinet in 1932. And
Wow.
on any recording of dance music, or tangos, waltzes, or swing and jazz, any recordings from 1932 until 1950, until he switched into the symphonic orchestra of Bayerischer Rundfunk and he was playing classical music, you always hear this clarinet performing with Lutz Templin, with Charlie and his orchestra, with Corny Ostermann, with Ernst von Toff, because he jumped in when Kees Verschoor was in hospital with syphilis. So the Berlin concert in
There we go again. This is the gossip part of the...
Yes, of course, we need it, because otherwise it's so boring. It's the gossip stories that you remember.
Yes. We have to go back one day to Charlie and his orchestra, which is also an interesting story. Not
Okay.
now. It's a long story, maybe.
Yeah, sure. And he was playing with Teddy Stauffer. So before joining Teddy Stauffer, he was in
From
the
Switzerland.
Ilya Livshakov. Ilya Livshakov was a Jewish band leader who performed in Germany until 1936. And then he emigrated to Buenos Aires.
He got
And
away.
he offered his musicians to come with him if they wanted. And Teddy Kleinin said, Franz Kleinin at that time, he said, well, I'm just starting to get a reputation here in Germany and I want to play jazz with you. I play those beautiful tangos and I play violoncello and some foxtrots, but maybe I can join you later or you come back. And then Ilya Livshakov answered, oh yeah, next year in 37, there will be the new elections. And then I can come back. It was only in 1974 that Ilya Livshakov, being Russian, a Russian Jew person, came back to Berlin and he died in West Berlin. He got buried here. And Teddy Kleinin told me that when he heard that Ilya Livshakov is back in West Berlin, every week he was driving from Munich to Berlin in his car
To see him.
to visit his old band leader and teacher Ilya Livshakov in hospice, and then he was driving back 7 to 8 hours to Munich.
Wow.
And this he made until Ilya Livshakov died. So
And then go figure, that was even through East Germany.
Yes.
Yeah, that took a long time to go past the border even.
Yeah. But
That's so good
he
to
told me the story once, and when he was brought to Berlin from Munich by his daughter, and he also was in hospital and in a nursery care because he couldn't move anymore and he was almost blind. So as often as I could, and maybe once a week, I went to see him, and I brought a little Discman, a Walkman with an active box, external high speed.
Where you could put a CD in.
Yeah, exactly. And we were listening to music. And every
nice.
time under the blanket, I saw his feet following the beat. I knew he was happy.
Something
was
to pet your foot to.
Asked me about colleagues. He remembered. All of a sudden, he had so much time and he was dreaming a lot and he was in his world. But he could ask me for names and I knew those names. And I said, next time I come and see you, I bring the music. So we had a theme to work on from week to week, and I prepared
That's so nice.
and other musicians he was befriended with, and yeah, it really was nice. And then one day he said, "Why are you coming to see me? I'm so boring." I said, "No, you're not. You're my friend, and you do this." He said, "I never would have done this. It's so boring to see an old man dying." I said, "But you did." He said, "No, I never did." I said, "Yes, you did with Ilya Livshakov." And he said, okay. I said, yes. So this is what friends are for.
This is so nice.
Yeah.
So
So at the end, he told his daughter that I should get the clarinet. So I have it. And
that's
it's
so
in
nice.
spot. It should be playable, but I'm not able to play the system. It's an Übel system that was made for him. And it's different from the Böhm system, from the French system I used to play. So, yeah.
Wow.
But
That's a nice story.
Teddy Kleindien, for his 90th birthday, I was producing a CD for
Yeah.
Antique Bureau, the small edition.
Can we still get that?
Yes.
So
I
if
think
anyone,
it's
I will do the
downloadable.
teleshopping again. So if you want,
Downloadable, but I can send it. I still have about 10 exemplaries.
there you go. It's a limited
And
edition.
the liner notes are in German and in English.
Oh, that's a good thing. So this was teleshopping again. Get it? Find him on email. So that's it. That's it. That's the story of this week.
Yeah.
Do we have something to add?
Clarinet.
We go over time again.
Benny Goodman inspiration. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's endless. It's endless.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much again for this. I learned some stuff again.
Again.
Okay,
Thank
Danny
you.
Poli and Harry Perry. I will never Danny Polo and Harry Perry. I will never mix them up again.
Yeah.
I will. But it was
Danny
lovely.
Perry and Harry Polo. They're both fantastic.
Something with cheese. Oh,
Yes.
that could be a good theme about cheese. There must be more songs
Drink
about
the
cheese.
Emmental.
I will look it up. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you, Heidi.
Let's see what we do again. So I will quit this meeting. Let's see if I can get this off live again. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Rotterdam.
Bye bye.
Bye-bye.
If my heart